It's crazy to watch the person that you think would have your back be like, can't believe you think you're worth that much. And I'm like, I am worth that much.
I think the sad thing about this is not Gaga not hearing what you feel or what you would like to say to her. There wasn't a full stop.
I texted her.
Bienvenido mi gente, welcome to the Progressing Male. I'm 𝗣𝗍𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, your host, and today we're going to be talking about all things that apparently men shouldn't and we couldn't and that we shouldn't times two. We're here to cancel culture, but the difference about today's episode is I'm not with my right and left pillars. Dwayne and Kane unfortunately can't be with me because I am in sunny Los Angeles. I know, boys, you are hating. I couldn't take you with me, but I do have a beautiful female co-host and guest today, Sloan, everybody. Woo! Now, Sloan, you are a heavily decorated, extraordinaire dancer fitness guru / goddess. I mean, you've done 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, Justin Bieber, you've done The Voice, Lady Gaga, Jonas Brothers, to say the least. You are a vet. And it's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
So, I had to come to LA to speak to Sloan because we've been trying to do this interview for over a month now.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it's a very sensitive topic, and it's an episode that I've called The Real Fame Monster. And that's because one thing that a lot of our viewers might or might not know is the entertainment industry is riddled with a lot of psychological bamboozlement and not enough protection of our mental health, of our money, and our rights, period. Yep. And so I want to talk about specifically your Lady Gaga experience, because we all know the global icon Lady Gaga, and for a commercial dancer, I mean, that is the peak. That is the actual peak, the dream job, and it's just like, not only is her music just to dance to, but to be in such, you know, what we would think the most professional, thought out and secure camp really is not what it seems. But before we get there, let's paint a little picture for our guests that don't know who you are. So Sloan, you grew up in Phoenix.
I did. I always tell people I'm a lizard. I love the sun. I chase the sun. Yeah, I grew up in Phoenix, and in 2009, I moved to LA.
So 2009, everything kind of changed to you.
Yeah, it was like I moved here. I always tell people, like, I moved here and I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to dance. It wasn't for anybody specific. It was just the idea. I just wanted to do pop music, really.
Right.
And that's pretty much all I knew. And I booked Gaga 6 weeks after I had moved here.
2009, it was for the AMAs, right?
The VMAs.
VMA. Can you imagine that being your first gig in LA?
Yeah.
Like, what?
And you don't realize, like, the scale, because she was so, like, fresh at the time.
But she wasn't icon status yet.
Yeah, but we did, like, that performance is, like, iconic. That's when she, like, hung and was bleeding.
Oh my God, was that the paparazzi one when she was? Yeah. That was pretty iconic.
I'm the girl in the wheelchair.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah. So I was actually really funny when I got that job. My mom was like, "All this training and then you're in a wheelchair," you know. I was like, "But it's so incredible." But I still 6 weeks after I moved here, I still had boxes in my living room, and I booked her. But again, you don't realize the scale. You didn't know.
And was that via an audition, or how did that happen?
Yeah, it was an audition. And it was pretty, like, I got called, you know, you don't know what terminology means. So I just got called, I went to an audition, and then I got a call from my agent, and they were like, "You're on hold." And I was like, okay.
What's hold?
Yeah, what does hold mean?
Hold, by the way, means you're not quite booked yet, but we want to reserve you.
I was like, okay. And then they just called me back, and they were like, because I had assisted Laurianne previously.
So Laurianne Gibson was the creative director and choreographer at the time, correct?
Yeah, so it was kind of nice to feel like all the years of assisting her.
At the Pulse, correct?
At the Pulse.
So there was a convention which, in my opinion, was the convention. Everyone affiliated with the Pulse has grown to have the most incredible careers, but the most incredible discipline, because you guys were worked like beasts.
Yeah.
And I had the honor to teach you guys at your gala night at the end for 2 seasons. And I was just like, just seeing how you guys were pushed to your limits physically, athletically, and psychologically. I was like, my goodness, whatever happens to you guys after, you guys are going to be
everything was easy after that.
But that's what the training's for.
Yeah.
So that's where you met Laurianne Gibson.
Yeah.
Now talk me through that process, because Laurianne Gibson, you know, I personally, because of I guess what I was exposed to. She's cuckoo for Gaga, but in the best way because she is such a passionate and such a specific mind.
Yeah.
But how was that working with her? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
It's definitely not easy, and I think too that she kind of created this like relationship with people that she knew would never leave. Like I was so young and scared of everything.
Were you 18?
Yeah. 19, I believe, 19 at the time. And I believe that I was just, I'll do anything to keep the job, you know?
Which is a mistake we all make, right?
Yeah, and some people just keep it
yes.
way
we'll get to that.
way beyond 18. But yeah, I think at that time it was like a little bit of intimidation, but she is so passionate. So it you know, in hindsight, is a little mixture of like a little fear and a little passion. So it's like this recipe, and she did bring out so much goodness in Gaga in the camp, but as a dancer, it was like there were certain days where she was just so much energy, and I would go home and just like cry.
Because it was too much?
Yeah.
Or because you were treated ill-mannered?
Both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, I think I was like a little puppy in this big girl job, and I'm so grateful for that experience, obviously, but I did go home and was like, is this what the industry's like?
Right.
Is this what everything I dreamed of
It's difficult
like?
because for our viewers who are not in the arts, one thing that we're taught as dancers, regardless of what avenue you go to, is to be blank canvases. And what that means is that whatever our preference is, that we have to leave it out in the door, because whoever's responsible, the creative directors or the choreographers, our leaders, they set the tone, and whatever crap they give us, we're supposed to be professional to take it.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, there's no boundaries. There's nothing set to protect us or to like be like, you know what, that's not necessary. We actually need breaks, or like that's not going to work for my body, and that's it's never considered. We're just expected to do.
Yeah,
right?
Dance monkey dance.
Yeah, it is.
Like literally just do that, do this, do that, do this. And if you're tired, then you're replaceable.
Right.
You know, and that's like not a healthy mindset to carry out in a career or inevitably as a human in the world.
So is it right to say that Laurianne, even though she's brilliant in her madness, that she kind of set the tone to what was to come? Because I think that was one of the last times that she directed, because in 2011, then her then assistant, Richard Jackson, took over.
Yeah.
And I would have thought, just because of my experience in choreography, if I've got a boss who's like the demon headmaster or something along those sorts, that I would set a new tone.
Yeah.
But do you think Laurianne created a monster?
Yes.
Because he wasn't like that before. Talk to me about what Richard Jackson, who is now currently the creative director, choreographer of Lady Gaga, how was he as a person while Laurianne Gibson was the queen of the castle?
When she was the queen of the castle, he was so hungry for it. Like he was doing so much of the moves, and as an assistant, he was at that time, it was an incredible experience for me to be under him. He was really kind to us during that time. He had to put out so many moves because a lot of times she would come in and just like oversee way more creative director and choreographer like positions.
I see.
So, and it worked out really great. To me, from the outside, it looked like they had a pretty good system going.
Right.
He was really kind at that time. Then Queen Bee would come and everybody was like, you know.
Right.
But in that time, he was lovely to be around. He was hungry for it. He would like prepare the moves. He was really creative, really kind. I didn't have a problem with him at that time. So
what happened then? Because, you know, a lot of rumors when Laurianne Gibson didn't get asked to come back, she got fired. That's what we heard. And there's many rumors that, I mean, what can you tell us?
I don't really know as to why the
switchover
happened.
Even being?
Yeah, I heard so many different stories, and I only really like to speak on like my factual
experience,
things that I'm confident on, or things that I personally experienced. So I don't really know why the switchover happened.
Right, because I mean, the switchover from what I heard, it was two things. Either because she was so responsible, and I think she's extremely responsible for what Gaga is now. She brought out the star that was dormant, and with the choreographic motifs and gags and the videos that she did, you know, the iconic videos that Laurianne Gibson directed.
Absolutely.
I think she became the fame monster, and because she saw herself in Gaga, she forgot her place almost. She almost acted like she was the star. Which, by the way, if you know Laurianne Gibson and if you ever watch this, you are. But I heard allegedly, because I can't be confirmed by a source, that apparently Laurianne did too much, and I also heard that 𝗣𝗿cie and another assistant, a girl that was apparently there, a white girl, 𝗣𝗿cie, apparently they weren't getting paid correctly, and so when Gaga found out, she was like, deuces.
Yeah, I mean, very likely.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to confirm or deny, but that sounds like a likely story.
Great. So we'll never get to the bottom of that.
That would check out, but and
how
then
sad.
he took over, and like for us on our side, it was like we just went to rehearsal one day, and then it was like Laurianne's no longer here.
So that was, if I'm not mistaken, for 2011, the Born This Way era. So before that, you had done the VMAs, and then you had done more jobs of her, right?
The Monster Ball. We did the Monster Ball.
So you did a whole tour with Laurianne Gibson as creative director.
And the Monster Ball was originally a theater show.
Yes.
And then it got bought out by Live Nation, and then we went to a like stadium version of that.
So you're part of that whole process.
So yeah, and she was also around during that process, and like everything got elevated, and it was awesome, and she was there. And then we switched to do Born This Way. The next one, she was no longer affiliated with the camp.
So you walk in, new boss, kind of new boss, because he gets I guess he gets upgraded to a new position. So what I'm starting to understand is that he dealt amazingly with the cards he was dealt when he was underneath Laurianne. But when he became Laurianne, his own fame monster came out.
Yeah, I think it happened.
Was it quite instant?
No.
Oh, interesting. Talk me through that process. So his first tour, talk me through that.
It definitely wasn't instant. I think there was still this like fire to like make himself known as his own creative director, choreographer.
Out of the shadows, my time now.
Which I like love. I love that. You know, I think I would especially too want, if I had an assistant in this big career, to raise them to get their own wings.
That's the point.
Go and do your own shit now. So to me, he started with this same thirst, hunger to create a path for himself, you know, and he had seen her like lead out of fear. So I think too, for him, he was also coming into this being like, oh, I want to be better. There was a time during when Laurianne was around, and out of nowhere, I just started not being asked to do things. I was like on tour, and they would do a music video, and everybody would get asked but me. And during that time, I like lost family members and all this stuff. So I was like super sad. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know what's happening. And no one was communicating with me.
So all you needed was communication. It wasn't the job as per se. It's just why am I out of the loop, correct?
Yeah, just tell me how to be better. You know, tell me how to, like, tell me what you need from me so that when these opportunities come, I can be a part of them.
And this is Richard.
That was when Laurianne was leading. It was at the end of the, like during the You and I music video.
Okay.
During that era, right before the Born This Way Ball tour.
Okay.
When Laurianne was still in the picture.
Excuse me. Okay.
So I was getting like cut out, weaned out for who knows what reason. And then when he took over, he called me, and it was right around Christmas before Born This Way tour was going to start. And he was like, hey, I'm really sorry for things that have happened. I want you to know I was always rooting for you and pulling for you. So you will definitely be asked to come back, because now that I'm in charge. It was so, he was like, at this time, it was
really respectful, almost
really communicative, respectful, and he was really transparent with me. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, it feels so nice. I'm excited for this changeover where I feel respected.
Because that's what it is, right?
That's what we want. Yeah. We want to be respected. And Born This Way started, it was great.
And how was your relationship with Gaga up to this point? Because as well, what a lot of people don't know is that sometimes the creative crew love the dancers, but for some reason the artist doesn't quite connect with you. So then it's kind of like a tango dance of like, okay, we want this person to be in the mix, but Gaga might not like her as much. Okay. What was your relationship with Gaga?
I have literally, that's part of like when we get to the climactic part of this conversation. what blows my mind is how close her and I were. We actually, like, I was her stand-in for so many things. I privately trained her for like 5 months in Pilates, to where I was like really intertwined with her personal life. And it was a beautiful experience.
So it's political. It had nothing to do with Gaga.
Nothing to do with, yeah. And then, you know, I think too, what inevitably started to happen is that maybe Laurianne started, I don't know, but it started to feel like people were worried about me because I was so close with Gaga, when really nothing her and I ever spoke about. I never badmouthed anybody. I never said anything against anybody. She just trusted me because I was really honest with her in terms of like, when she would dance, I'd be like, you could do better on that, you know?
Right.
And I would give her like really honest notes. And then when I trained her and we were so tight knit, and then she switched over to a new trainer to change modalities, I literally was like, no love lost. All good. I'm going to go back to being your dancer. And like, what's all good? I'm unchanged. I had a great time.
Amazing.
And I think that's also what spiraled into Richard not liking me.
So what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing is that Laurianne Gibson, for whatever reason, started excluding you. Richard obviously knew that. He then comes clean because he wants to start with a clean, positive slate now that he's king of the castle.
Yep.
You're on the Born This Way tour.
Yep.
To you, you're back on track because you're like, that's the closure I needed, and now I'm about to start a new experience with
Clean
this artist
slate,
who now is the biggest artist.
Yep.
So when did things start to change? Did it start with you? Because for those that might not know, the reason why I'm speaking about this camp in particular is because the level of bullying, isolating tactics, and mistreatment, both verbally and psychological, got to even the London shores. And I'm not affiliated with the camp at all. I haven't spoken to this. Is the first time I speak to you about it. I know some dancers on the tour. I know 2 more. I've had 1 conversation. And for that information, or tea as we call it, for that to trickle all the way across the pond, it means it's being done excessively and no one's hiding it. Yeah. And I think the entitlement, because I'm Gaga's choreographer, I can do whatever I want. I think that's how it got so bad. So talk me through, now you're starting this tour, when did it start to get bad? Did it start with you, or was it like a bit like the plague or COVID, where it started one place and then it finally got to you?
I think he got the fame monster on a scale that I hadn't personally experienced. And I think it started internally with himself, and then he just started spewing it onto,
like projecting onto people.
Yeah, onto people that were close and people that he knew were comfortable, that he could trust in that way. But at the end of the day, we're there to do a fucking job.
Right.
And like, when the job's not being done, I'm frustrated. I think he got the fame monster, started spewing it onto all of us, and it did start in Born This Way. My first red flag was actually when we were first starting rehearsals during contract negotiations. And dancers need to be taught about what financial intimidation looks like.
Oh, we all know it too well.
But people don't respond to it. They, you know, he would come in and talk to us about why we were asking for a certain number. And I'm like,
almost like you should be happy that you're working.
You have a job.
As opposed to like, I've been working here for loads of years, I would like a raise, thank you.
Yeah, and also it's not coming out of your check.
Right, so why are you not fighting for it?
This has nothing to do with your check. Get off of my bank account. It has nothing to do with you.
So you were asking for more, I presume, because you've been in with her for so long, so you would like an increase, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what the Beyonce dancers get. Certain artists, once you work more than 3 years, like in any other job, your position may stay the same, but you get an increase because out of respect. Yeah, and also if you guys knew what the band make in comparisons to dancers, like, it's not that the money doesn't exist. So you start a negotiating period and he would come and instead of being for you.
To rehearsal, and during Born This Way ball, he was semi-decent about it. You know, why are you guys asking for this much money? And then he wanted us to start to, he just didn't like our rates. He didn't like what we were asking for. And I was pretty quiet because I was still like, again, now in hindsight, there's so much I've learned, but I look on the outside. But when you're in it, like, I was still so scared.
Was this a collective decision? All the dancers spoke on it and then asked for it?
No, we asked our agents privately.
Okay.
And then he found out and then decided to pull a meeting with us about our money. I'm like, I don't understand why this is your issue. But at the time, like dancers do, we just start being like, oh, maybe he's right. because he's now in my mind. You know, now he's running this course in my mind about, oh, maybe I am asking for too much.
Right.
When really I'm not. I deserve a raise. I've been here long enough to ask for a raise. And we did end up getting a nice bump. But it was just the financial intimidation, the fact that he even thought he could have a conversation with us.
Why wasn't he on your side, right? He
If I'm in that position, I'm like, y'all aim high.
Yeah.
Aim fucking high, and then let the dust settle where it settles.
It's not an easy show either.
But
like,
just go for it. And like, you guys are worth everything to me. So go for it. You know, reach for the stars on this one.
I'm like that too.
I'll fight for you and be like, no, I don't want another team, so come to an agreement with this 10.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch the person that you think would have your back be like, can't believe you think you're worth that much. When I'm like, I am worth that much.
How funny, because his check obviously is quite different to yours, so.
But yeah, I think we started to see the shift then. And then during Joanne, that's when things got like.
So Joanne, what year was that?
Oh my goodness. I want to say off the top of my head, like 2016.
Oh my
off the top
goodness.
Of my head.
So just before Joanne, was there anything that happened specifically to you or another dancer that you were like, whoa, this is not a safe place to be?
No, I didn't even, but maybe, I don't know. I can't like recall in an exact chronological order when things started to really get wild. I just remember specifically in Joanne, during that time, we would come to rehearsal and sit for 8 hours and not do anything.
Why? Because he wasn't prepared?
He wasn't prepared, or there'd be like a lighting meeting he would get pulled to. But the meeting would go the whole day. And I got certified in other forms of fitness while I was on tour rehearsals. That's how much time I had.
My goodness. Wow.
And like, to me, as now like somebody who cares about leadership, the inefficiency is what pains me.
It's
because that's
disrespectful.
that's also just money. Like, you're so mad that we're asking for more, well then let me go. Like, let me go so I can make more money, but I'm being paid to sit here and like sit on my hands. I don't want to do that.
And the assistant choreographer wasn't
There was
prepared.
no technical assistant choreographer.
Got you.
It was like him, and then he had an assistant who was 𝗣𝗍cie, who like oversaw like schedules and stuff. Yeah, and their camaraderie was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I just really cared about the inefficiency. And then during Joanne, we had another meeting about our rates, and he brought in, at that point, his friend and one of our dancers, War, wanted everybody to be paid the same amount. And I was like, I don't even care. I just want more money. So like, your check also doesn't affect mine. Why are we even talking about this out loud? Just do your own deals. Do your own deals.
Yeah.
What are we, like, yeah. But he definitely had a shift during that time of not being prepared, which is something I am highly uninterested in. Not being prepared, inefficiency, wasting our time, really poorly run rehearsals.
Really? Because another dancer that I want to talk about, because after Joanne, you guys collectively, I don't know how it happened, maybe you can talk me through this, but certain amount of you went to Rolling Stones and you got a write-up in July 2022, which I thought was incredible, because Rolling Stones in music and entertainment is seen as quite credible.
Yes.
And I was like, this is it, because if it meets the clientele or the eyes of the Rolling Stones reader, this could be the catalyst to improvement. Because I do believe, and I don't know everyone that spoke up, but I do believe the only reason why that was brought out is because it wasn't being handled respectfully, and because we're trying to avoid it for the next generation, because things have to change.
Yeah.
Like, we're still not protected. It's still not safe to work in most of the spaces.
Yeah.
So talk me through that. Like, what happened in Joanne to other people? Because I knew that, for example, even though he wasn't prepared, et cetera, he would verbally bully people for no reason.
Yeah. He didn't necessarily bully me. He did, I don't want to speak on other people's experiences, but he did say things to people out loud that were not necessarily like viewed as like a welcoming room and experience. I think too, going back to him being inefficient and belittling us as dancers, there would be times when our wardrobe people would put water signs up and they'd be so cute. They're like, hydration station, so cute. and he'd be like, take that down. When I was a dancer, I didn't get water breaks. You know, and we're like...
You know who that sounds like, though? Laurianne.
Yeah, but it definitely, like, played a role. I think hurt people.
Okay.
And,
yes.
you know, and unless you are a part of the change, you're a part of the problem. So it was continuously this idea of, like, when I was a dancer, and I'm like, didn't you want more?
Right, let me have more. You might not have had it.
More?
Yeah.
If you wanted more, you should be celebrating that we're getting more. It's the fact that you think we still should be run the same way it was 20 years ago.
Right.
That is the most, like, stagnant mindset. It's what? Yeah, I want water. That's a human need for life.
Yeah.
I want water.
What was done to you? Because Joanne wasn't the last time that you worked with her. After that, she had her show in Vegas.
Yes.
And that was the final straw, because I'm presuming you asked for more money again.
Yeah.
And same problems happened. What happened there?
So I actually will go back a little bit. In Joanne, there was an incident that it's important to talk about.
Please. I just didn't think you wanted to reveal.
We had a dancer with us, Caroline, who is one of my best friends.
Caroline Diamond?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still one of the greatest.
Incredible dancer.
She's incredible. She's just an incredible human and a big heart. And she got asked to join us for Joanne.
Yes.
When she got asked to join us for Joanne, we barely knew each other, but we quickly created this, like, beautiful bond. And when we were on the road, Caroline and I did a lot of, like, walks, gym, salad, like, museums, like, really, like, healthy, beautiful friendship. And we were at Wrigley Stadium, I want to say, and her family was there. And about 2 weeks before that, he started to slowly, like, randomly take her out of dances. Just, like, take her out of, be like, Caroline, why don't you just not do John Wayne anymore? So she would, like, be just kicked out of dances. And then her family came to see us. And after the show, our dance captain asked, Caroline, Richie wants to talk to you. Caroline got pulled into this office, and from my understanding of what he said to her was he didn't like her and my friendship, and her dancing has been changing since she's been hanging out with me. But quickly after she came out, I got called in the office. And when I got called in the office, he said to me, so Caroline hasn't been losing any weight. And I said, that's not my job.
But why is that a problem?
And I'm like, I'm blindsided by this. She's my friend. What are you he was like, yeah, I just think maybe your friendship isn't good for her. And I was like, all we do is take walks and go to the gym.
Do touristy things, yeah.
I'm like, it's like so healthy.
So, but am I right in saying that what it was he was irritated with her. You were the closest things to her. Mm-hmm. You're not the favorite in his books either. No. So he just spewed something out to maliciously do something psychologically.
Yeah, and I think too, because Gaga loved me so much, and so he had to find something outside of dance with me. And I think with her, he was just frustrated that she was close with me. He was just trying to sever all these ties that he could around me. And I started crying, and I'm like, I want nothing to do with this.
Because it puts you in a really precarious situation.
I want nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
We're sitting here talking about one of my best friends. This is like a judge of my character. I'm not doing this.
And what's funny is that when she booked that tour, I coincidentally went to a pool party of a mutual friend, and I saw her, and I was itching to see her because I was just like, if anyone deserves it, that was her dream job.
Anyone.
She wanted Gaga, and she got Gaga, and that tour was fab.
Yeah.
And but you know what? Because I'd heard about, what he's like. Mm-hmm. Something in my soul said to me, he's not gonna like her. He's gonna like her on the outskirts, but she's gonna do something that means nothing, and he's gonna come for her. I remember asking her directly. I was like, "How was he to you?" And she looked at me, almost surprised, petrified, but thankful that I asked her at the same time. And I just couldn't believe that's what happened.
Yeah.
And that's straight up bullying because she's a really hard worker. She's a great personality to have on tour. And she's an exceptional dancer. And to me, she quintessential Gaga dancer. Strong, jazz-based.
And also, we are all about, or Gaga is all about, inclusivity.
Yeah.
And like, I always say what's cool about that team is like, that somebody in the audience can look up and see themselves.
See themselves, yep.
You know, they're a bag of Skittles. And so you look up and you're like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yes.
If he can do it, I can do it. If, you know, we have representation from so many things. And I'm like,
yeah.
that's what was so cool about it. And I definitely think she brought something else to the table. So after that conversation, I was
Did you go to her?
wrecked. Yeah, I told her everything.
Yeah, and what did she say?
Wrecked.
Bless her, two-hit combo.
Yeah, her and I just went back and forth and we're like there for each other to like as a support system to be like, it's so crazy that we're going through this. I'm like, I'm not gonna stop being your friend. Our friendship is way more important than.
Because the impression I got, it was like that all of a sudden her weight was an issue, which it never was, because else why would you book her?
Yeah.
A, and B, you're slightly responsible for the friendship, so he expected you to cut the friendship so he can get his way.
Yep.
I
But
don't
also
understand.
pulling us both aside, like while her family was there, after cutting her from dances, I'm like,
That's very malicious and calculated.
Yeah, so it is so calculated. But that's him.
Right. And did anything worse or as bad as that happen to other dancers that you can recall, or you maybe?
Not necessarily to me. I think after that, I started getting a little bit more internal and quiet and really just viewing it as just a job.
But then you do Super Bowl, correct?
Super Bowl was good because there was constant eyes on us. So like NFL was always there.
So he had to be on his
he
best
was
behavior.
On it. We were on it. We were always dancing. It was always like we were where we needed to be. So in terms of that, it was great. Like he was awesome during that time. And also he's putting on a show for the other dancers. You know, it was there was like 50 of us or something. And so the house kids, like we knew him, but then he had all these other kids that were like fresh puppies.
And we're doing the Super Bowl. This is the best job ever.
Yeah. And her and I had such a relationship that like when she walked into Super Bowl, the first rehearsal, I was like such like a chill person normally in like rehearsals and like that workspace. And I was like sitting on the side. She walks in and like sees all the dancers. She's like, "Hi guys," it's so gracious. She's like, "Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Like, I'm Lady Gaga." You know, like as if they don't know.
Oh yeah, but she's being polite. I love that.
And then she like scans the room. Everybody's there. Scans the room and she's like, "Oh, Sloan." Like out of 50 dancers was like, so, you know, that was her and I's like camaraderie. And so he was actually really great during that time. I think him and I had a big shift for the residency.
Is that Enigma?
Yeah. The residency during that rehearsal period, I think like creatively there was just like, they were trying to fit a lot of ideas into like one show. And I did a lot of stand-in stuff for her. I like learned her tracks. I taught her tracks. So I started to get like pulled into her space for like to clean her and to help her. And he really didn't like it.
But didn't it have to go through him?
It was like her management would come and be like, "Hey, Gaga's asking for you. Can you help her with this number?"
So he hates that because it's cutting the middleman and losing control.
I mean, hated it. I would go in there and like she'd be like, "Oh, can you work with me? I think I'm off on fame."
Did you get paid more money for that shit?
No, it was like I would go in for like 30 minutes while I was already there getting warmed up. It wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
But then I would leave and sometimes he would be there. He's like, "What were you doing in there?" And I'm like, "Yo, she just asked for me to go in. That's it."
You didn't have a conversation with him going, "Look, I'm being pulled in doing this. I just want to hope that you're okay with it because I'm just doing my job."
You should also trust that I can communicate with her.
Yeah, but insecure people don't work good in those spaces.
No.
You know?
No, and then...
I mean, you didn't have to do that, actually, to be fairly honest.
No, but I really, I have nothing but love for her.
One thing that I get, a motif that kind of happens with all of you guys that spoke up, is that it's nothing to do with her.
No,
work ethic and the kindest person. Is that right?
Yeah, she, you know, there was of course, she like got really famous and like things happened and like she's a woman who is so artistic and carrying a lot of weight because she does do everything. Like all creative decisions are 100% hers. And she So definitely there was like days and times that were a little challenging and like her emotions, but like she's a human, so we give her the grace to be a human. But overall, yeah, she's just I had a lovely time with her. Overall, I think that, I think there was a few snakes in the garden, but I think overall she as a whole was lovely.
I'm presuming that, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is me being presumptuous, psychologically presumptuous. I'm presuming that the reason why there wasn't a definite change whilst these things were escalating was because not everyone shared your view. And I'm sure Richard had to have, I guess, minions of some type to protect his space, because it's just wild to me how when you are the minority in the sense of like you're in the wrong, how you can get away with daylight murder. There would have to be people kind of doing this to him to sustain his foolery.
Yeah. I definitely think his friend and our colleague they were really close. And I do think that, when Richard wasn't around, I believe that he definitely was telling him.
Right, he was
we weren't allowed to have emotions because War would tell him everything.
And would he try to be friends with everyone, or was
No.
he like the one in the corner who's always caught every single beat?
Yeah, he had a few friends on the road. I was definitely
not
his friend, and he was definitely not mine. He definitely didn't like me either, and I think that's okay to not get along with everybody on the road. But I think when you are that close with the choreographer, you have to be able to separate it, and he couldn't separate it. He would show up late to rehearsals, and would eat while we were running dances, and I'm like, if I tried to do that,
he got special treatment, and he knew it.
If I tried to do that,
yeah,
people would be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But he got to do it because he knew he couldn't get in trouble. And I think ultimately, dance is a sport, and I'm huge on sportsmanship. And I think carrying your own weight is really important, and also being a team player is really important. When you're acting that way, you're not necessarily pulling your weight and or being a team player.
Yes.
You're also making me work harder for the same check. You're also really condescending when you just stare at me in rehearsal it feels like you think that you are a better dancer, that you don't need to be practicing, that you need to be rehearsing. I'm like, I always need to be practicing.
That's your job. That's what you get paid to do.
Yeah.
So, wow. So I think the canvas is painted now. So 2022, Montana, one of the dancers who were there, she was there from the age of 18, I believe.
We were there together.
So it's the same.
Yeah.
She was one of the first people to speak up, and what she said, just so I don't misquote, is, to be completely honest, her choreographer Richard Jackson was a horrible person to work for, later writing that he mentally abused her for years. He abused me, he embarrassed me. He made me feel terrible in the workplace just because he could. That was from Caroline Diamond. And so it's all these quotes from the Rolling Stones article. It happened.
Yeah.
And you then, I presume who went to HR, who contacted management? How do you take something that's happened for years and say, right, that's it? How does one take that process? Because I think a lot of dancers or in the entertainment industry are like, yeah, this has happened to me, but who do I go to?
So I think we all around need more people to go to.
Yeah.
But in this specific situation, the tour dates for Chromatica got released. And once that happened, I made a decision, no matter what happened, that I wasn't going to do it. I was like, no matter what, I'm not going to do it. If I get asked by whoever, I'm not going to do it. So I have to be okay also if I don't get asked. Montana and I had talked about being on that same boat together, about being like, we've always been Sloan and Montana, always, in terms of that camp. We joined at the same time. We lasted so long with her, and we had a good relationship with Gaga, so it was always Sloan and Montana, Sloan and Montana. And so we kind of created this relationship and dynamic that we're like, no matter what, we shouldn't go back. We have to be smarter and realize that that's not how we want to be treated in the workplace.
Did you want to go back if terms and conditions were different, if there was a different creative director?
Yes, if he was not there, 100%.
So it was all him. What a shame.
Yeah, I had, like I said, the whole wardrobe team, her creative team, her managerial team, catering, anybody. I got along with everybody. It was just, and since he was my issue, he was also my boss. And I couldn't say yes because I also felt like for me to say yes, the dance community was going to see that I was saying yes to working for somebody like that.
So it felt like a duty.
Yeah, I was like, I need to stand up for myself and let people know that it's okay to turn down an amazing experience for your own mental health. But so Montana and I decided together that we weren't going to do it. And then what happened after that? We decided that we were going to file proper complaints about our experiences, and upon further investigation, there was no actual HR team affiliated with her specifically. So we reached out trying to get in contact with somebody. Nobody, there was like, there's no HR. We looked it up online, no HR. So we just decided to send it to her
manager.
Montana went first. She sent her stuff in, and then I went next to her manager, and then kind of like the overseer of the A team, who I was very close with. So I sent it to them, very formal, just stating, documenting specifically the bullying that had happened for Caroline, and the financial intimidation and the lack of efficiency in rehearsals. And all factual, all proven, and never heard anything back. It was like, oh, this has been received.
So management did, what I do know, management did say they received it and they were going to call and talk to you guys, but it was always postponed to the point where it never got...
Not yet. We didn't get the information that we were going to get called yet.
Okay.
We didn't get that until after Rolling Stones came out. We filed HR before Rolling Stones came out.
I see. So it was Rolling Stones because you weren't getting the attention or respect that the situation deserves. So you were like, well, you need to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe that will get you attention.
So that's the thing that people don't understand, is that they think that it was like this attention-seeking thing, that we were like slight fame chasing for a moment.
Come on
when
now.
I'm like, no, we went through the proper channels first. I went through HR first. I was like, let's just handle this properly, just so you guys are informed on this matter. Montana did the same thing, and we were together on it, and it was like very professional of us to do it that way. Got an email saying it was received, that they don't like to tell the other party how they're choosing to handle it. But I was kind of like, okay, we'll let your actions speak then, then I'll wait to see how this goes down. And then nothing happened. Dead silence.
And to this day, nothing has happened.
To this day, nothing has happened that I know of. Then after that, Montana went on Instagram, and she was the first one, and like,
she mentioned that because the reason why she wasn't chosen was because of her relationship with Richard.
Yeah. And Montana went first, and after she went, which I think she should get all the flowers for this, because to me, having the courage to just film yourself and being like, I'm not going back because of this person, I think that takes a lot of courage and balls. She didn't know or ask me if I was willing to do the same. She was just like, fuck it. I'm going to let everybody know why I'm not going back. From my own mouth, they should know. And then my Instagram started blowing up.
From the monsters?
Yes, from her fan base.
How is that? Was it animosity, or was it like more intrigue, sadness?
They were so sad.
Because they're attached to you guys too.
They were like, what do you mean you're not coming back? Is what Montana's saying true? And instead of me just like answering all these individually, I got on and I spoke. And I was like, I think it's really important for you guys to know that the decisions are being made to not return, because it's not a healthy environment. And right now I really only care about it being a healthy environment. And as somebody who's converting into more of a leader, I would never want to lead a room that way.
Kind of practice what you preach,
yeah,
kind of.
If I don't like the way I'm being treated, I have to remove myself.
Yeah.
So then we did that, and then after that, Rolling Stones, People, and US Weekly or US, one of those, reached out to us.
Oh.
And between a few of us, we decided we were gonna just stick with Rolling Stones. And that's when the article came out.
But in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't really do anything. It didn't pick itself up, and it's a shame because I think it's just because we're dancers. Hadn't that been someone that co-starred with her in a film, or like was one of the extra acts on the Super Bowl, if she had one, it had been anyone else besides a dancer, it would have got the attention it deserved.
Yeah.
But because we're the dancers, and I think this is the main reason why I did this, is because, and I hope I can keep on doing it with this story, because my dream is to have all of you like together, because what would it take for you to understand that I'm just as important? What would it take?
Yeah. It's an insane overall industry, and dancers are like the people that they are the meat of everything. You know, we are so much more valuable than anybody ever will fully address. And people talk about it being
cool.
We deserve more. We deserve more. I'm like, but didn't you take that job for $200?
Yeah, it's not.
So if you keep doing that, then we don't move.
Mm-hmm.
You keep doing that shit, we don't go anywhere. It's insane. So Rolling Stones came out, and then after that, you know.
Did you all guys give up after that because we did the best we could and nothing's happening now?
Technically, let me rewind, because after I did the HR stuff, I received word through people that Richard was not going to ask me back because...
To the Chromatica Ball.
To the Chromatica Ball, because I was still friends with Caroline.
Great. Okay.
So that's where we're at. So years later, he's still restless.
Well, that's all he's got.
And I was like, okay, great, fine. Not hurting me. Then he had this heinous audition. Can we talk about that?
Please. What do you mean by heinous? Because he's known for that already.
So for me, the only reason you have an open call now is for your own ego, to see who shows up for you. That's the only reason you do an open call now. There is just much better ways in terms of like doing it by agencies, and then if you want to see non-union, then the next day open it up for non-union and break it up by ages.
Yeah.
Do it to a certain way.
So it's efficient for everyone.
Efficiency. Open call, anybody shows up, I think he had like, it was at like, let's say it was at 10 a.m. You know, my friend was out there at 9 a.m. in the sun with no communication, 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. outside. No communication.
No dancing, nothing.
No dancing. Nobody came down the line to be like, hey, this half, go home, come back at 4. Nothing.
Right.
So now, I mean, I was in shambles over this because I understand he wanted to see everybody to like, because she is all inclusive. So I respect that, because that is something that would align with her. However, making dancers stand outside for 12 hours in the sun while nobody brought them water, no one communicated with them, no one broke them, no one put them into rooms with AC, like, it's just fucked up. It's so fucked up. Mm-hmm. And my friend had a fishnet top on.
And I bet she was webbed because of the
Just
suntan.
And I'm like...
She likes salmon. Bless her.
And then he would have, in the audition, was telling people like, oh, if you don't nail this, then you're not going to be, you know, you can't make any mistakes. And then another dancer would go and mess up the entire thing. And then he'd be like, you know what, I like your passion. I'm like, you got to be clear.
Right.
You have to pick one.
Well, he's been also known for his audition gimmicks, because one of the first tours that he booked, he came in with like this outfit, paraded in with security, and made this whole like big speech talking down to them. Yeah. And then the David Bowie performance where Gaga did, saying like, if you book this, paraphrasing, but it was something like this, if you book this, it doesn't mean you're a Gaga dancer, because there's dancers that have been on this tour for blah, 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 blah. This just means one performance, you don't get to put it on your resume. And it's like, dude, just audition me. Just let me do my job. Thank you, I'm going to put that as my credit if I book it, because I was on stage with her. It was like there's always this extraness, almost to feed or fulfill something within his ego, and not for the job. Yeah. He thinks he's bigger than the job, and he's thought about that a long time ago.
He brought to the audition for Chromatica a camera crew. He brought his own camera crew under like Squirrel Productions or something. And to me, I'm like, it's not about you. It's not about you.
Yeah, but it is for him.
And also, like I said, you only have an open call to see who's willing to show up for me. And like, as opposed to being like, hey, like, I just want to find people that fit this certain, like this certain roster I'm really trying to fit to make sure we have everybody represented, and you know, let me do a call based off this. Let me do a call based off this. Let me get organized. And then, so after that happened, I knew I wasn't going to get asked. And then a week before rehearsals start, I got an email and it said, we'd like to check Sloan's avail for the tour. And I responded back and I CC'd her manager and my manager. And I was like, this camp is infamous for covering their bases. You're covering your bases right now to say I got asked because you know I'm going to say no.
Right.
So like, just so they could be like, oh, we asked to tell her. Asked Sloan, but she said no.
How shady, right?
A week before, you need to check my avail because you're not sure about the kind of dancer I am after 10 years.
After 10 years, a decade,
you know exactly the kind of product I'm going to deliver.
You know what it is about this whole situation is regardless if you're trying to have a good day, whether you find a good amiga or amiga on tour that you can confide in, it is still psychological welfare. Mm-hmm. So my question is, this whole time, there was never an episode or a period where you walk in, feel great, leave great, appreciated to your fullest, pay rise given to you as opposed to you asking for it. Like there's always some type of collision, but that chips away at you because our art is an extension of who we are. Psychologically, mental health wise, how are you or how have you been? Because it's all great you saying that we leave everything behind in the dance floor or in the studio, but that creeps into our normal life. Like, were you in tatters? Is your bill for like a shrink? Like, does that do a runner on you?
Yeah, and I think it just depends on how you use it, right? So you can either, some people need to like sit in it and work through that with a therapist, in terms of like making yourself, like your self-value can feel so low. You know, you can question your craft, you can question your career decisions, like that experience has the ability to make people end that and be like, I don't want to dance anymore.
Yeah, because it was so dark.
Yeah, I don't want to dance. If that's what dance on that level looks like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I don't blame people for having experiences and then shifting careers because it is hard. I have decided to be a better leader. That has been my whole mission, and that was like part of what I said in that Rolling Stones article. It was like, I just want for it to be worth something to empower the next generation to know when enough is enough.
And how to deal with it, right?
Don't let this cycle just continuously happen. So to me, after that article came out, when he did another free class or whatever, and I would see who was attending them, I'm like, you're a part of the problem. You know exactly the kind, if that's, you're taking his class because you're hoping it's going to provide an opportunity, and now you're just taking his class because you don't care.
So when you say the word I don't care, it inspired me to ask you this question. How do you feel about the ones that had the same experience as you, and it's up to you if you want to name them, but there's some dancers there that are still there from the beginning, and they're there. How does that feel like? Because is it like, dude, like if you want to do the tour, then that will be a louder microphone for us. But you doing it enables it and gives an excuse or a reason for him to act the way he does. Because there are some OGs and some heavy hitters that are still on that tour that you're like, are you like, what the fuck are you doing? Or are you like, you know, each to their own?
I am definitely each to their own. I think initially I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
But I'm in a place in my life where I can't control what everybody is doing. And I don't want to give that much negative energy to people just because maybe I don't know why they're doing it. You know, maybe they're doing it because they need to, or maybe they're hoping there's something else they can get from it. You know, I don't know.
Right.
So I'm not here to tell people what they should and shouldn't do. I'm just here to speak on my experience and to show people there's a better way.
Right.
You know, there's a way out. There's also better leadership. There's also people that really care and want to lead with kindness.
Yeah.
Because you can give criticism and constructive criticism without
tearing someone down.
Yeah, bullying people, belittling people. You can actually get much better results if you just are fucking nice.
You know, I was responsible for that too. All of my teachers were like, they were militant, man. It was like, and I became a leader very early. And my way of showing love was tough love only. And I feel like that I broke. There was no malice behind my heart, thank fuck. But there was. I wish I had an emotional thesaurus.
Yeah.
And when I clocked that and when I took accountability for that, the last, I would say, 8 to 7 years of my choreography and teaching career, completely different skill set, because I shouldn't be in a point of authority tearing or assisting in a negative way.
Yeah.
I should be a reason, I should be approachable, I should be empathetic, and there should be discipline, but it shouldn't be asked for, because I should do that without emitting fear on others. But that's a choice, and it looks like, I think we can agree that he doesn't want to make that choice. He enjoys being the way he is.
Yeah, and I think being held accountable, and then like I'm really big, like what you said in the beginning of this, like I'm not into cancel culture, I'm into accountability culture. Like if people make a mistake, I want to tell them they're making a mistake, or that how it makes me feel, and then give them a chance to change. And then if they continue to be heinous monsters, then I'm like, okay, well then now you're just an asshole.
Right.
But at least give them the chance.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get the chance, we're just like canceling people for something that maybe they don't even realize they're doing, or something that has just been bestowed upon them, and they're just repeating cycles.
Because that's what you do. Trauma, you repeat it. Usually.
So I definitely think that it's like admirable for you to at least be like, I clocked it.
Yeah, you have to, because you look at those people who are still like that, and you're like, why would you want to be that way?
Why would you want to be that? Why would you want the room to feel like when you walk in, as opposed to like, oh, they're so awesome and rad, like I want to work harder because they're so awesome and rad.
Yeah.
And they're gonna let me know when I'm being whack, but they're still awesome and rad.
Well, I think what's awesome and rad about you is that even though you didn't go on the Chromatica ball, and even though like you're not working with Gaga anymore, you have this. So we are currently at Sweat Extension in LA. Please let us know what this is about, because this is so freaking cool.
So when I was on tour, I was getting certified for 8 million things. And one of them was Pilates. And I got certified 3 times over in Pilates specifically. And I was approached about opening this in 2019. And then it came to fruition this past year. And I am the program creator, director, and head trainer here at Sweat EXT.
Oh my God.
So I pre-curate every class that comes through here, and every playlist that comes through here. It's all my concept. The owner of this, her name is Mimi Benz. She's so trusting of my vision, and she built this whole place, and I just creatively get to run what's inside of it.
But look at that. Imagine if you would have been in Chromatica, this might not have happened.
No, I definitely don't think it would have. It's definitely like the stars aligning to continue me on a leadership path. Because like I have to push people forward in a positive way, just like I'm teaching dance for conventions now.
Yes.
And it's like showing the next generation. I talk about all the time, like, if you don't like something, you speak up. You don't just sit by the wayside and do it for the check. You're gonna sleep better at night if you use your voice.
So you're leaving your little drops of
But that's
wisdom.
how I'm dealing with it, you know? I think that's how...
It's therapeutic, right? Because you're purging by teaching them and ensuring that hopefully your students won't make the same mistakes, or when they're put in those situations, they know how to, they're equipped, I should say.
Yeah, that they're like, oh, I remember Sloan saying I should speak up.
I feel like you didn't... I think the sad thing about this is not Gaga not hearing what you feel or what you would like to say to her. There wasn't a full stop.
I texted her.
Skirt!
I texted her.
Talk me through this. So when did it happen?
I texted her after, when I made the decision to not go. I texted her.
After Enigma, so after the Vegas show?
This is before Chromatica.
Before Chromatica?
Yeah.
So you text her.
And I text her and I said something along the lines of, I made the decision to not go back on the road. I was not asked. This is before I was asked, because they waited till so last minute. I'm like, I have not been asked for reasons through the grapevine that I've heard. I'll miss sharing the stage with you so much. If you'd like to know more about why I'm making this decision, I'm happy to hop on the phone with you at any time. And I love you and I'll miss you so much.
And she didn't reply?
No. And you know, I do like to, the devil's advocate, maybe she got a new phone number, maybe all this stuff, but I did attempt to reach her.
Because you know what's heartbreaking is, fine, take the job away from me, sabotage me, I've got this now, I'm growing, but we talked about this in another episode about happy endings. And happy endings to me is that whatever happens, just let me have, or let the opportunity, the conversation happen where we could be like, full stop, good luck to you. And not to have that must be so destroying, especially when you give so much heart to an artist, because it's past steps.
Yeah.
It's past steps. And you had this really amazing, personalized relationship with her,
Yeah.
and you still didn't get to say your final goodbye.
No.
Like, that would fucking frustrate me so much.
But I think too, like after Rolling Stone came out, her manager reached out to us, Bobby. He reached out to us to set up one-on-one calls, and he did. So we spoke to him. So to me, when you talked about like having that next step, getting closure, I was like, oh, this is it.
But that's not her.
He's taking this information in, and something's gonna happen.
But no, it didn't.
And then nothing happened.
Okay.
So it's like I think that's my biggest thing too that people don't know is how many outlets we really tried.
Yes.
Which is what's discouraging about there not being like communication to be like, this decision has been made. Thank you so much for using your voice.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the decision is, just to know that there is consequence.
Right.
For acting that way.
Of
There
course.
is consequence for leading that way. There is consequence for treating other humans that way.
So you feel like you have nothing else to say to Gaga?
No, I don't have anything else to say. I miss her for sure, because like our time together was really good. I am so sad that she didn't reach out to me, because we used to text over silly things. So to not text over something that was so monumental and painful for me specifically.
Did that make you feel like just a dancer again?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's probably the worst feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I was like stripped of this like relationship that I had worked really hard. And I am somebody who like, I would never talk poorly about, you know, we were so close, and like, she is a great, like her heart is so big, and who knows the reasons what prevented her from responding to me, but it was really hurtful.
Yeah.
You know, just again, person to person.
Okay, and then my last question to you.
Okay.
What could you, or what would you say to Mr. Jackson?
Hurt people, and I'm sorry that you're hurting. I'm sorry that somebody was so bad to you that you continue to do it to us. And I wish that you can find peace in your heart to take accountability for the pain that you caused some people.
Wow. Wow. And really that's what it's about, is being kind to people. And I hope this episode helped. I think that there are so many nuances that could assist more than just people in the entertainment industry. But if you are in the entertainment industry, understand that sometimes the bigger the job, the bigger the problems. I hope the story empowered you and gave you knowledge, because Sloan is winning. I can feel it, I can see it, and we can see it. Hello.
Definitely had a glow up.
I mean, but it's amazing, and
Thank you.
but not a lot of people make it in the other side. And
No.
I've known and I've taught students that because of experiences, they've quit. And so I hope this has equipped you in some way. I hope that this has inspired you. I hope that you retweet or anything this episode, because we need it to go around, because the psychology of the arts is just not talked about, and we're not respected. And I hope that all those people involved that hopefully I get to interview as well with this particular situation just have the space to talk about it, because without these conversations, I really don't think there's going to be change.
No, I don't think so either.
So thank you so much for taking the time, for being
so
so
much.
honest. Honestly,
Thank you.
I sent her maybe 4 or 5 questions, and she answered that and then some. So thank you for being so
Thank
open to
you,
our
yeah.
viewers.
Thank you.
And let me know what your thoughts. Let me know, how did you feel about this story? Do you have stories to share about Mr. Jackson, or maybe Laurianne, or maybe just Gaga in general? Please let us know. We would love you to join in the conversation. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sloan.
you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching The Progressing Male. And remember to always keep it real without the spiel.